AM 1380, The Biz, the Wall Street Business Network.
Are you one of the 9 million Floridians living in a community managed by a property manager or HOA? If you've ever wondered what your rights are as a resident or what your role is as a volunteer board member, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Condo Coaches, your resource for when your gated community starts to feel more like you're stuck behind bars, or when that guy next door decides that a hot pink Chevy on cinder blocks really sets the tone for the neighborhood. The Condo Coaches is brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. And now your host, Johnny Torres.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening, watching the Condo Coaches. Bringing you another great show. If you are sitting on a board of directors in your condominium or homeowners association, or you're a resident living under a condominium or homeowners association, this is the show for you because we try to break down all the hoops and hurdles and challenges and the good times and the bad times in living under an association. And we've got experts lined up to help you through those issues, and always happy to answer your questions. And we do so through a number of ways. You can reach us through our website, thecondocoaches.com. That's thecondocoaches.com. And if you want to reach us directly, you can do so not only through the forms on our website, but you can also reach us via email. And our email address is help@thecondocoaches.com, help@thecondocoaches.com. And, of course, last but not least, if you want to talk to one of the condo coaches in our network, you can call us by dialing 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415, and that'll work pretty much anywhere in the world. So feel free to give us a call if you'd like for us to get on the phone with you and help you through whatever issue may be challenging you. Now, before we get into the usuals, in terms of some of the emails and social media comments that we've gotten, I also want to remind people we've got 2 amazing downloads on our website right now that you need to absolutely take advantage of, and that is our giveaway booklets, our playbooks, if you will, our Condo Coaches playbooks. The first one being the top 10 things you need to know if you are an HOA or a COA board member, that we've already run thousands of copies of and are printing more as we speak. And then, of course, our second booklet, if not more important, really, than the first booklet, which is collecting delinquent association fees. And, of course, that is always, I would say, the hardest part about serving on a board of directors. And we've simplified it for you. We've laid it out in a step-by-step process. And that's also a very quick read, but certainly an important one. So get those 2 booklets right now at our website, thecondocoaches.com. Again, thecondocoaches.com. You can go directly there if you add a /playbook there to the end, condocoaches.com/playbook, and that's where you'll get those 2 free booklets. Well, as we do every show, want to welcome head coach Dean Akers. How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing great, Johnny. This past week was awesome.
Yeah,
I got a lot of great feedback from people, and had I'll tell you later about it, but I had a crazy 1,000-mile drive that had me as a condo coach and my day job, but even more so as a condo coach this weekend.
Awesome. We'll get to that story in just a minute. And also, we want to introduce our guest for today, and that gentleman is Fred Lauro.
How you doing?
Did I pronounce it right?
You got it right on.
All right. So Fred is joining us today as our guest coach, and Fred is a paint expert. But before you stop listening to the show, I promise you, it's going to be exciting. Exactly. It's going to be interesting, and certainly, at the very least, more fun than watching paint dry.
It's the worst, and that's how I started my presentation.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And so Fred has been with again top-notch paint companies, Scott Paint Company, Lowe's Commercial Painting, and Sherwin-Williams. And so we're here to talk about paint, because it really is an issue here in Florida. But before we do that, Fred, what we like to do is open the show by going over some of the emails and comments that we've gotten through our website and social media channels. First, we got an email. We got a Facebook message from Jenny, and Jenny says, "Hi, board president here." He goes, "Do you know if anything like the Condo Coaches exists in Southern California?" And so the reason I brought that up is because, no, unfortunately, the Condo Coaches do not exist yet in California, but that's why we put the show everywhere. You can get it on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher if you like the podcast version, and of course Facebook. You got all the videos there, and we're adding videos constantly. So send us your questions and your comments and your feedback, and we'll work those into the show. We also might be able to help you, just giving you, some advice depending on the issue. So no matter where you are in the country, feel free to email us or call us, and we might be able to point you in the right direction. Of course, keep in mind that legally there may be things in your state that may or may not apply in comparison to what we have going on here in Florida, but we're always happy to help. So thank you, Jenny, for that.
One thing that we find that's universal, communications.
Yeah.
And so that board download, I had a person out of Missouri call me, same type of thing. And I said, well, there's no law that makes you not have to communicate or communicate. And that board booklet, it would be universal anywhere.
Yeah, right. And so the stuff that we put on our website, even some of the blog posts, but certainly the booklets that we've created, that stuff's universal. That applies anywhere in the country, but certainly use it as, at the very least, as a starting point.
Absolutely.
And then if you feel you kind of need to escalate it, then seek some legal advice.
Yeah, there are functions that are in Southern California similar to what we have, like lunch and learns and stuff like that, too, to help you get more educated out in California.
Yeah.
So
well, and again, Community Associations Institute, also a great organization throughout the country. And so we highly recommend you look them up. So CAI, also a big believer in what we're doing here, and so we're happy to kind of cross promote them as well. And so look for the Community Associations Institute branch in your neck of the woods. Now we got one from our last episode. Angela was actually watching our last episode while we were doing it live, and she left us a great question here. And again, you think this paint episode is going to be boring, but trust me, it's going to be far from it, because it's if you haven't dealt with this, man, are you fortunate, because paint is seemingly one of the most controversial things you'll ever deal with in a homeowner or condominium association. And so Angela says that the community had voted to have the buildings repainted, but not to change the colors. Awesome. All right. Good so far. There was one board member who was managing the project. All right. So they delegated, put somebody in charge. Good so far. And they decided to change the color without any review or approval by the board. And so that's where things went south. So the buildings are now being painted new colors. This, of course, it started all kinds of problems. And so, it's quite of a lengthy message she sent us here. But basically, she says, what are our rights as owners to, A, have the buildings repainted correctly? Can they file an insurance claim? 2, take any actions against the board member who changed the paint color? And so, what avenues do they have there? I mean, again, it's a touchy subject, and obviously, I mean, he just ticked off the entire community.
Number one does it say that there was just one guy that did this, that ran it, or was there a paint committee?
No, so it was just one guy they put in charge.
So usually you want to have your board choose the paint committee. Right. So people that are actually making these kind of decisions, but once they do, they have to present it to the board. So in their bylaws, typically, it's an average bylaw would be 75% vote by people that live there, the residents.
Okay.
Before you can change colors.
Yeah.
So.
And again, that's something that most people probably don't have in their governing documents, but it's something that they could establish those guidelines.
Oh, no, they're in their government. They're all 100%.
Oh, all right.
100%. You don't make,
absolutely.
The board's fiduciary responsibility is to maintain the property as is.
Gotcha.
And in good condition.
Right.
But you can't go arbitrarily change siding, colors.
It's in the bylaws. Right. It says it right in there, and every bylaw is written a little different. So sometimes it's 50%, 60%, 75% of the vote. So if I was her, I would have her go back and look through those laws, or have the property manager go through it and figure out, what is our percentage, and if there is something in there that says specifically what we're asking.
And so is there recourse there in terms of a insurance claim? Probably not.
Not insurance claim, no. It would have to you'd have to get a lawyer involved, probably.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but
Right. And so, okay. And then in terms of taking any actions against the board member, I think those kind of maybe go hand in hand, right?
Correct.
In terms of how that's going to get paid for.
Yes.
And
Yes.
All right. Well, they'll definitely, I mean, we've been in touch with them, right, Dean? And we've been in touch with Angela, and we've started that process. And so we are going to be helping Angela through that situation there. But paint is nothing to blink at. I mean, it's a touchy subject, which is why we got Fred on the show today. We got a couple minutes here, so before we get into your story, because I know it's a great story about visiting a board of directors over in Vero Beach, I do want to remind people that, again, you can catch the show anywhere and everywhere. We highly encourage it. Please let us know where you do listen or watch the show from. You can do so on YouTube. You can do so on Facebook. And, of course, our podcast version, we've got it on 3 great channels out there. We are also going to soon be implementing a new tool where you can even watch and listen every episode directly on our website. But that's Stitcher Radio, if you're into the Stitcher podcast platform. A SoundCloud, also incredibly popular platform, mostly known for music as well, but lots of podcasts on there, including ours. And then, of course, the all-famous iTunes. And that's how I listen to the podcast of the show. And all 3 of those, all you got to do is search for the Condo Coaches. So you search for the Condo Coaches on any of those 3, you'll be able to find the show. And can't stress enough the booklets, the free downloads that we have on the website right now. Top 10 things you need to know if you are a community association board member. That booklet's been incredibly valuable. It's a nice thick booklet as well, but still nonetheless an easy read, free download. If you want a hard copy, and many people do, especially once word gets out that they found this great booklet to learn from, that gets distributed by you emailing us. So email us, help@thecondocoaches.com. help@thecondocoaches.com. We'll send you hard copies. You just let us know when, how many copies and where we need to send them, and we'll take care of that. You can also call us, 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. Dean's got a great story about a little road trip he was on, and thought he was headed to Orlando, but nope. Took a little bit of a detour, and so we're going to talk about that coming up. It's the Condo Coaches radio show. Again, more on the Condo Coaches at thecondocoaches.com. We'll be back after this.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
Thanks, Julie. And coming up next, is there rain in your weekend forecast? We'll find...
Hey.
Hi.
It's been a while. Great place and nice neighborhood. You must have a strong community association board.
Thanks. I guess so, but I don't pay any attention to that stuff.
Seriously? How do you know for sure the board and community manager are making the right decisions to protect your investment?
I don't, but what am I supposed to do?
You can get involved and connect with CAI.
CA what?
CAI, Community Associations Institute, they're a nonprofit group that has helped us build a great community. They have free resources for your association board, professional training for community managers, and helpful information for homeowners.
Thanks. I'll definitely do that.
Is the time and investment you have made in your home and community protected? Be a smart homeowner and visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you once again. The Condo Coaches bringing you weekly advice, insight, expertise as to how to be an effective, efficient board member on your community's homeowners association, or your board of directors, or maybe just being a good resident, right? Because we also highly encourage your participation as a resident if you are living under an association. We have with us, again, a special guest. Fred is our guest today, Fred Lauro, and expert. I mean, you are the paint guy, is what I'm hearing, is what Dean's told me. You are the paint guru, as Dean would say.
That's what he calls me.
And so you've worked with a number of paint companies, and again, while people may not be flattered by the topic of the show today, I think people do minimize the importance of paint. And as we talked about in the last segment, how touchy and very critical of a topic this is when sitting on the board associations.
I'm going to give everybody kind of an easy framework to think about this.
Yeah.
Any of our listeners that are out there that are married, okay? Mm-hmm. Just think of the last time you and your wife stood in a room and decided to paint color. You're painting a 10 by 10 bedroom.
And that's one room.
That's one room.
Right.
Just think of all the debate. And I look there and I have a color chart of white and there's 6 whites on there.
That's it.
And I picked the wrong white and I go, you're
in trouble.
So now let's put 500 residents together.
It works great.
Yeah.
There's no issues ever. It's like you just pick it and there it is.
And then the multiplier effect, right? of
Exactly.
that. Yeah. So that's
why I stress the paint committee thing.
All right. Well, before
huge.
we get into paint, I do want to touch on a great story. Dean, you, of course, were down in South Florida. South Florida has been incredibly gracious to us. The Condo Coaches in high demand down in the South Florida area. Of course, Dean doesn't mind. He picks up some Cuban coffee and some croquetas, and he's a happy guy. So tell us a little bit about your story over the weekend.
Well, I want to tell you a couple things. One is last week was epic in every respect for us. One is that we were in a trade show in West Palm. Okay. And in West Palm, we had a number of big associations. So we're on the cusp of being invited back into several big groups, like 50 associations, to do a condo coach seminar where we'll bring the coaches in and all the boards can ask. So that was an epic time at the trade show. People asking us to come in. Sure. And of course we will. Yeah. Then I had a meeting with some board members in Lauderdale about their finances, and they were all anxious about it. We did a financial review. We found out that the whole association's done a lot better, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Then I got in my car. I'm riding up the road. I stop at a turnpike rest area on my way to Orlando.
The Yeehaw Junction.
I didn't even make it that far. And I went on and checked my iPhone, and there was a condo request on our Condo Coach, my email.
It's like the bat signal.
Bat signal. Bing, bing, bing. And it was a lady in Vero, Miss Rosemary. And if you're out there, Miss Rosemary, I love visiting with you. But anyway, she said, ... we've got this challenge. We need to know this. Could you help us with this? I said, it's coincidental, but I'm literally 15 miles from your exit.
Well, and not to sidetrack you, but I mean, she also sent us a very lengthy message, email, where she kind of outlined everything. I mean, it was urgent.
Urgent. So I called her, and she was available, and I turned off the turnpike. We sat down. I did a financial review. We walked her property. We looked at all the issues she was talking about. And she wrote me the kindest, appreciative email. And coincidentally, her association, which they're all angsting about their financial position, was the best I've seen since I've been doing it.
Wow.
So it was really exhilarating to be able to share with her balance sheet, what her cash flows look like, where reserves were sitting, and really say, you know what? You guys are in great shape. Now you need to do a strategic plan. So we're going back over as Condo Coaches in about a month, and we're going to do our first strategic plan with a board where they do the vision with all the residents of where they want to go, which is going to be powerful.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, and I would think that, would you not say that the people who are the most worried and concerned about are usually the ones that kind of have their act together a little more?
Well, I would say she would tell you this too. If I let you read her email she sent me, they were always worried about what was wrong with their association. And I asked her a question, which I've been asking boards, and it's the most powerful question when I'm sitting with a board. I said, could you, each one of you, tell me 1 to 2 things that is right with your association?
That's good.
And what happens is she wrote me the email. She said, you changed our whole perspective of how we're doing. We're financially solvent.
Right.
We have differing opinions, but our opinions may not be wrong.
But there's compromise.
Yeah. And
happening.
But the biggest thing is, how do we create a visionary plan that all the residents can get behind that says, here's what we want to look like. We want this amenities in the future. Wow. We want to look like this. And we'll facilitate. We'll come help them.
Yeah, help them plan long term.
Yeah, because guess what? It isn't about the sprinkler broken today. It's about the community and how nice the community is and how much people feel engaged. Right. And one of the things about boards really need to learn is how to engage the residents.
Well, and keep them interested, right?
Yeah.
Because I think oftentimes people will leave a community because it's not changing, it's not evolving, it's not improving, it's just kind of staying the same.
Well, and the boards don't usually have a lot of communication training.
Yeah.
So they get flustered. And like I was sharing with Rosemary, I said, when you're in a meeting as a leader, you cannot allow the group to drag you in the ditch.
Right.
Which means you've got to stay
positive.
Stay positive. You've got to listen. You've got to take in. And if
Stay
somebody
neutral.
if somebody has an issue, says, would you chair that committee for us? And I will meet you off time, and I'll sit down with you on the thing about dogs barking.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and
you come out,
empower people outside of the board.
Absolutely. And they'll love it.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing for also the people listening to the show to take away is that it didn't cost them anything.
No, it didn't cost me anything. I got to tell you something that I never thought would be as popular is when people send us in their financial statements and their deck, and we do a deck review and a financial review with their AR and everything, and we give them this synopsis back. This other one in Fort Lauderdale, which was really freaking out, I showed them where they had increased their position by $300,000 year on year. So the board had really done a good job.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, with these couple tweaks and doing a visionary plan, they could get this kind of tougher association back on track within a year where everybody would be happy, which, by the way, will probably increase home values in this 400 and something unit deal by as much as 20 and 30%.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Especially being that, that South Florida market is starting to kind of slow down a little bit just because, there's a flood in that market in terms of inventory.
Can I tell you one other thing we did as a condo coach the other day, too, and then I'll get off and we'll go bum paint. We had a board that's trying to get a loan.
Yeah.
They're working, they're talking to banks and all this stuff. Our condo coaches saw what they were doing. It was obviously they had never put together a loan request of a magnitude to get $400,000. Our condo coaches assembled all our team, and we built a loan request package for a loan that they're taking to all banks this week. So
Get bids.
But now they're not, instead of will you loan, they go, here's a package that has their financials, has their bylaws, everything's outlined with a narrative of what they want, what amortization they want, why it's going to be able to be paid back. Here's everything, all in a nice buttoned up condo coach helped improve loan proposal that they could do.
Guys are like the Avengers.
You know what? When we laugh about it, when we started this, we started it for all the right reasons.
Sure.
And what's happening now, it's just like having Fred on today, having people engage and giving back.
Right.
And again, I had one board member say, well, why do you do this for free? And I said, why do you do it for free?
Right. And it's really at the core.
Absolutely.
It's really understanding that everyone here is volunteering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're excited. I get all excited about this because it really rocks my world when we make a difference. And I can tell you, today's show, having Fred on, I got to know Fred watching him do paint stuff, and I'm going, OMG. This man really understands the nuances of a board.
Did you just say OMG?
Yeah. I'm at 21 years old. At any rate, he's a guy that really understands the nuances and the personalities and everything. And I said, he needs to be a coach. And I'm so happy to have you on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you thinking of me, too. So
yeah.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being on the show, and we'll absolutely be getting to your topic today.
No, it's fine. Dean
I
can
promise
keep talking.
you.
It's okay.
But we do want to
He's got
remind
a lot
people
to say.
again, you talk about the financial assessment, the community assessment. We'll even do kind of a grounds assessment. And so, again, having somebody in our Condo Coaches network like Fred is incredibly crucial to that piece. If you need any of these services, again, it's not going to cost your board a dime.
Right.
All you got to do is reach out to us. You can do that very easily. First way is our website. Lots of different contact forms on there. You might as well sign up for the free playbooks. You can do that at thecondocoaches.com. thecondocoaches.com. If you want to talk to somebody because your matter's urgent, again, we got the bat signal on Dean here, and of course that also gets you plugged into our Condo Coaches network, where we can point you in the right direction to the right coach that's going to help you through your situation, and that's 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415, and our email address, which is also a great way because all of us are busy. And if you don't hear from us right away, don't get worried. We will get to you. We will be responding in a timely manner. You can email us as well, help@thecondocoaches.com. That's help@thecondocoaches.com. We got Fred Lauro with us, paint guru. All right, we're going to talk paint for the next couple segments. It's the Condo Coaches Show. We'll be back.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. And you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes, another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger, 2 if you're very overweight, and 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio prediabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you listening, watching the show. You can do so at Facebook.com or at YouTube. You can watch every single episode of the Condo Coaches, and we highly encourage you to do that because that's really why we do this. We do this to disseminate that information, to educate you, and to inform you into being a better board member or a better resident in your community association. Of course, now, without further ado, we do have Fred Lauro with us, who is our paint guru, joining us on the show today. We are going to talk paint, and trust me, from what I've heard, Dean's built this up pretty high. He tells me you put on quite a presentation.
I tell you what, I see paint in my sleep. So.
What are you dreaming about?
I know. I need to get a life.
I see.
Is seeing it or sniffing it?
I don't know.
There it is. Well, good thing it's all low VOC.
Yeah,
you don't get anything growth.
Yeah, there's not even good paint anymore.
Good. Yeah, it's green paint. You're good.
Yeah.
So, Fred, of course, let's kind of start off with the basics. Florida being what it is, lots of communities that have been around for a long time. What's the average lifespan of a paint job where you should start looking into getting your community repainted?
Yeah, so it's changed over the years. Like I said, I've been doing this 18 years now, so it's changed. And over those 18 years, it used to be a 5-year cycle, and then it went to a 7-year cycle, and then went to a 10-year cycle. So it just depends on your community and where they want to be at. So
the last time they got the community painted?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes they're in a 7-year cycle and they won't paint till 10 years. So they're not covered for 3 years under their warranty, which makes it a little bit nerve-wracking due to not having coverage.
Now, hold on a second. So you said warranty. So there's paint warranty.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, tell us a little bit about that.
So your paint warranties are covered by your manufacturer and also covered by your contractor that you choose. It's a labor material warranty, and I stress to homeowners, make sure that on your warranty it says labor and material for those 7 or 10 years or whatever you choose for a warranty.
Okay.
So it's a big deal. Warranty's huge.
Well, and do you find often that which of those two typically gets left out in that situation?
Labor.
Yeah. and what would you say is the claim? What can you claim on a paint warranty?
So warranties are for the actual manufacturers, anything that is failing due to a paint being wrong. So it wasn't batched right, or there was some issues, which happens. But I will say,
so it's peeling, right? What are some of the things to look for?
Maybe. So some of the things you look for is called efflorescence, where it's actually like some soap residue is coming through the paint. And that is a manufacturer error typically. So they could be due if they painted with moisture. There's a lot of issues that this could be caused. Alligatoring, which looks like an alligator skin, is an issue for doors and stuff like that. So there's a lot of issues that can happen. And typically, I will say this, 99.9% of the time, it's prep work. Number one is prep work and painting.
Well, and there's, like you said, there's so many factors. First being the manufacturer. Second, the weather conditions under which the paint was applied. Third, how that contractor handled the paint. right?
Yeah,
So there's all these different.
And that's where your manufacturer really needs to be on top of the ball.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure that they're out there inspecting the proper way of how it's painted. So this is where we kind of come into the paint specifications for buildings. So now, 10, 12 years ago, they started writing paint specifications for everything, which tells the contractor exactly how to apply the paint on which surface and explains to them what kind of primers and paint to use on those surfaces in order to get the best paint job you could possibly get on your building.
See, right there. I mean, that was just a wealth of information.
No,
just
I
right
always
there.
thought you. Growing up, I just took a roller and went whatever I got from Home Depot.
Exactly.
That's
Oh, my
everybody
gosh.
thinks like
I
that.
know.
Right.
Let's
And
start
we're
off-
not even talking about colors yet. So
Well, let's start off by the fact that I didn't even know there was paint warranty.
Exactly.
I thought, once it's up there, you're done. I mean, there's no going back.
I will say that a lot of residents up north that come down have no clue. Like, I actually had a property manager tell me, I went in her office and I'm like, hey, who writes your specifications? Who does this? She's like, specification? What's a specification? She was from Texas. They don't do paint specifications. They don't do paint warranties. So it like blew her away.
Sure.
Similar like you.
Well, and I would hope, and I'm, just putting this out there to make sure, but I would hope that all these communities, large or small, because we do see a lot of small communities as well, that they hire somebody that is a licensed contractor, right? So making sure that they're a licensed contractor to paint.
So most of your manufacturers, a lot of people that work for the manufacturers in our area know contractors and which contractors are licensed, which ones you try to stay away from with their license problems. So you can actually look it up. There's a website you can go on Pinellas County to find out if your contractor is licensed or not. So if I were the homeowners, I would definitely research that to make sure that their license is up to par. That's
Right.
that's a
And
big
most
deal.
counties have that. Most counties
on the website.
right.
Absolutely, you could look it right up. It's all public record.
Yeah. And so let's kind of start going down a little bit of that paint process. Now, before we get into how the board deals with it, if you've got a maintenance guy, right? Some of these communities have a guy who's on site 24/7, or at least during business hours. And that guy is touching up here, touching up there, that sort of thing. How does that typically affect the paint warranty situation?
It doesn't. So you're okay. It won't mess with your warranty. Obviously, your paint's going to fade depending on which side of the building it's on, where the sun's hitting it, your UV. So he'll be around touching up. Typically, what you hear with the touch-up stuff is it doesn't touch up because here's this side of the building is getting blasted by the sun for 5 years, and now somebody hit it with something and it's nicked. Now let's try to touch it up with the original paint. So that's where the issues with.
Well, and then all of a sudden you got this little blotch that
everywhere.
Right, you got all these little blotches that don't match up to anything.
That's right.
Anything else on the building.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, and in that situation again, so you're saying know right the lifespan of that paint, and then also know what your paint warranty situation is, and make sure that it includes paint and labor.
Correct. So try to go back in your docs and make sure that you have, or your property manager, depending on how long that property manager has been with you.
Yeah.
It says, hey, this is when we got painted last. This is who did it, and this is our warranty. So that way, 6 years, say it's almost the 7th year, you can kind of do a quick assessment. And some manufacturers are doing assessments now. So they'll actually walk around for free for you and say, hey, look, I found these couple of things that's covered by your warranty. Let's go ahead and take care of that until you have another year before you actually get painted. So
there you go.
A lot of free services that boards don't know about that
Sure.
manufacturers will do for you.
Well, and it's building that relationship too, because
Absolutely.
it's a competition for the market share, and
Yeah.
so if they can keep them on that same brand of paint,
That's right.
That's obviously
It's huge.
a big win for the company.
Definitely.
Now let's start to get into the touchy subject, right? So we get into a board type of situations. You do lots of presentations for boards, which I believe is how you and Dean kind of came across each other. And when you come to do a presentation for a board about paint, what does that consist of?
I run them through from the top to the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, you guys are getting ready to paint. You know where you're at. Your cycle's at 7 years. You're on your 7th year. So you have a year to get all this stuff put together, because it's not a quick, just here's the process, you're in and out, and you're
And
done.
what is it that has to be put together?
So the paint specifications, like I said, that's huge. I always recommend to the board to have that paint committee. No matter how big or small you are, it's important to have people making decisions in order to get this ball to move.
Now,
Otherwise,
other
it'll
than
sit.
color, what are we looking for?
They also will talk to you about what contractors they like. So a lot of contractors these days are doing a lot of marketing, which is great. They get in front of the boards, so they usually have a handful of their contractors they like to use. So then that's where we come in and say, yeah, those are good contractors. We like to use them too. We work with the contractors on that. So in order to kind of alleviate some of that pain in the buns for the board, we'll write the specifications. Then the manufacturer will go out and do a pre-bid with all the contractors. So we'll walk the whole property together and make sure that nobody has any questions about it before they do their bids. So once that happens, once you have your pre-bid, then typically you have about 2 weeks for these contractors to turn their bid in.
Yeah.
And then the fun begins.
And what are some of the things? What are some of the key things you're looking for in a bid from a contractor?
So you just want to make sure that they're following your manufacturer specifications. What happens is sometimes you'll have a contractor just give you one sheet of paper, and here it is, here's my price.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, there's an option for this. There's an option to do our doors this time, and we're not doing
Trim.
the floors. I mean, they can be optioned a bunch of different things out.
Sure.
So you just have to make sure it's followed exactly what is said in your specifications. That makes the biggest difference.
And do manufacturers typically have some sort of certification program that contractors might be taking advantage of, or no?
No, there's no certification program unless you're doing roofs. So there is some for roofs. There are contractors in our area that are roof contractors as well. So if you have a flat roof, it's a whole nother ball game now. Now you're talking about having a certification in order to do that and becoming a roof contractor. So you have to be a triple whammy: a general contractor, roof contractor, and a certified.
But do the manufacturers also maybe have a list of recommended
Absolutely.
contractors? Okay.
Yeah, and especially the guys that's been around a long time. They really, they keep their own list, and they actually keep lists of jobs that they've done and pictures to show you before and afters. I mean, if you've been in the market a long time, then you see it. It's a big deal.
Now, we talked a little bit about, we only got a couple minutes here before we go into the next segment, but we did talk about that situation where a rogue board member went ahead and picked a different color for their community.
Yeah.
What really is kind of the first step in that process to fix a situation like that where it seems like the whole community got painted?
The first step was to actually, I had it this morning. So I went out to a property this morning. They had the wrong color on this building and the right color on this building, and the property manager's like, hey, can you come out and look, make sure it's the right color. So call your manufacturer, make sure they go out and make sure that is the wrong color, because sometimes it looks different because shading and lighting and all that stuff makes a huge difference.
And it's aged. The paint's aged.
Well, one's only 1 year old, so you wouldn't see much of a difference.
Oh, okay.
But when we drove down, this side was like dark charcoal. This side was light beige or light gray, which is what they wanted. So I was like, absolutely, it's the wrong color. So then they're like, well, where do you go from this? So the contractor wanted to charge them to come back out and paint the right color on, because it's really not his fault. They told him, one of the rogue board members said, yep, this is the color we're going with. Go ahead and do it.
And it was the wrong color.
It was the wrong color. So there was the board didn't get involved and vote on it, unfortunately, and that's where all the issues start.
Wow. Now that gets even more complicated because they weren't working at the at the discretion of the board. I mean,
That's where that paint committee comes in.
Wow. And in that situation, because this board obviously kind of has their act together, they knew to call the manufacturer there. And do you typically work that way, where you're working directly with the board and then they hire the contractor and you're providing the paint?
Yes, that's exactly how it works.
Got it.
Right on the money. So yeah, we'll come in, like I said, we'll do the paint specifications, a pre-bid, and then we'll work with the contractors to get it going. And then once it's going, we'll do the inspections and we'll report back to the property manager and the board. And that's how it works.
Awesome. Well, we're talking paint. I told you Fred was the man. Well, Dean told you Fred was the man.
Dean told you.
Yeah. And
but now you can.
Of course. But I'm watching here the Facebook live stream, so you can always leave us comments and questions there. And even if it's after the show, you're watching this at some other point, you're watching it on YouTube or the podcast, send us your questions because we will absolutely answer them no matter when or where you're listening to the show. You can do that by going to our website, thecondocoaches.com, thecondocoaches.com. You can also reach out to us via phone. Phone number is 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. Again, that rings the Condo Coaches Network, and we'll put you in charge with an expert. We might even get Fred on the phone for you if that's what you need. And our email address, help@thecondocoaches.com. That's help@thecondocoaches.com. We're talking paint in your community, so come back. Final segment up next.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you so much. And again, you can reach us by phone, 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. We're talking paint. You heard that right. We are talking paint today, but we've got the paint guru, all right, where we are tackling all the ins and outs and not even just the paint itself, but, of course, how do you get to the point where you're going to need to get your community repainted and, of course, making sure that you do that not only accurately, but you also do that with everybody's support on board if you are sitting on the board of directors, or even if you're a resident, making sure that that process is handled correctly, or maybe you're chairing the paint committee, which, again, we highly recommend.
Absolutely.
And make sure that the board signs off on the colors, and you got the color codes. Every code, every paint
That's right.
color has a code, making sure that everybody agrees on the right color code. So we've got Fred in the show for today because it is an incredibly important topic and one that causes huge problems in communities all throughout the country.
I always say people don't worry about paint until it's time to paint. That's,
That's
how it
right.
works. 7 years, they're on the mud. They're like, well, now what do we do? Now we got to paint. Let's paint. So
Yeah.
one of the things I want to touch on too real quick is the sealants. So sealants are huge because people complain about waterproofing issues and, it's got to be coming through the wall. Well, paint doesn't let water come through. It has a rating, a permeability wind-driven rating where it won't actually come through your paint.
Okay.
I would say 75% of the time the problem with any kind of a lower wall leakage or above you or below a unit is typically coming from your windows because people don't think about it when you paint. We also need to do the sealants around the windows because those haven't been done in 15 years.
Sure.
So
And
they're
that wears
brittle.
down just as well,
Brittle,
right.
falling apart. So anytime that you have your building painted, you should always have somebody inspect your sealants. That's huge. I mean, that's like main thing.
That's excellent. Yeah, because, again, it's one of those things that people aren't
They don't
aware
think
of,
about
and
it.
they don't realize that.
That's
As a
right.
matter of fact, my mom had an issue with that. After a major storm, she kept having water leak into the home, and they couldn't figure out why, and they came and they had to basically rebuild that window because by the time they figured out they had a problem, the wall had warped, the wood had warped,
right.
all that stuff, and basically,
too late.
It became a huge problem.
You wait and it's
after
too late.
that. One of the other things when talking about paint is, of course, we mentioned, if you've got a maintenance guide, that obviously doesn't affect the warranty. But if a board does want to approach maybe changing colors, or in a single-family home community where you have maybe a palette of colors, but they want to change that palette, is it worth for them to reach out to somebody like yourself to kind of, where you could recommend an established palette?
Absolutely. So what an HOA, a homeowners association that have single family homes that typically paint, their own homes or paint a block of homes. It doesn't make a difference. They have, these are our colors that we use. So they are allowed. The board is actually allowed to just choose new colors if they want and that's it. So they can go in and say, hey, these colors are 20 years old. We're getting rid of the whole book. Let's start over. Can you come in and sit down with us and go over colors? So we actually have, a multitude of people that can come in and help you with that. There's designers, all manufacturers have different things. So the rep
they're experts too.
All of them are experts.
Understand how a
colors go together.
Right. Absolutely.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
Especially, I just had one the other day that said, we want to update everything. It's 2017. We have colors from 1997. Let's, what are the new popular colors?
Right, because paint is like anything is trendy, right?
That's
like
right.
there's certain
You got
colors
it.
that come and go in terms of popularity.
That's right.
And so what happened there?
So I just went in. We sat down. I showed them. We actually have all different kinds of new styles, new colors, new ways to go. Popular colors right now are like sages, and it used to be earth tones forever. Now it's kind of changing, and it's going more like Easter colors, like spring stuff. And just sit down and make sure you go over that stuff with them and spread it out so they can see the colors.
Yeah, because just because a palette looks good, let's say, you know, on paper, you know, for lack of a better term, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look good once it's up and on the buildings.
That's right. And that's where you can go online and do some research too and find some websites that will actually help you take a picture of your house and put color on it and help you choose those colors as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things, a lot of tools that people don't know about that I try to help them, you know, make it easy. It's all about trying to make it as easy as possible because it is a stressful, long process sometimes.
Now, I live in a single-family home community, and one of the things that inevitably comes up every number of months is saying, hey, want to change the color of my house? Where's the palette? What colors do we need to use? That sort of thing.
Yep.
Maybe what are some ways that you've seen that information kind of be readily available for residents?
So typically how it's been done is there's been color books. Here's 3 color books. You only have 3 for 500 homes. You have to go into the office and look at the color books. Now the companies are starting to figure out, well, you know, that's been a tough thing to figure out. Let's work on something. So now it's actually online.
Well, and those codes change over time sometimes, or the manufacturers may come and go.
Yes.
Right?
So when the manufacturers come and go, usually they get bought by somebody else, and they just kind of keep going with the same system. But the online thing is fairly new. It's only about 4 years old now. So a lot of the communities don't even know that they can actually go onto a website, put the community name in, and then all their approved colors pop up for them. And they can go right down the list and pick whichever scheme they want. And it's already approved, so they can just, there it is. They send in a form to their manager and says, these are my approved colors, and you know, we're going to paint.
That's awesome.
Makes it a lot easier.
But not everybody's doing that.
No, and because they don't know. It's not out there 100%.
But we need to get that. That's part of like the show today. This is something that needs to be out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's a value add from the manufacturer's perspective. When you're looking at, you know, maybe even changing the paint manufacturer, do they have something like that in place? So that way, regardless of the board and the turnover, because inevitably that information gets lost in the shuffle.
That's right.
That they're going to know, oh, well, this is the company that gave us the paint. Maybe they have us on their website.
And even if they don't use that manufacturer, they have the colors, so they can go into wherever and get the colors that they want because they're there. Everybody has each other's colors. It's no secret.
Worst case scenario, because I'm sure it happens, you know, where they don't have that kind of record, but they have to abide by the current palette that they see in the community. You see all the commercials where they just chip a little piece of the paint off and that sort of thing. How accurate is that? Is that recommended? I mean, or how would somebody go about finding out exactly what color is on their home?
So that's where you can also get a manufacturer involved. I've done in the past, I went around 188 homes and matched every house. So they had so many schemes, they kind of had an idea. We have like 50 schemes. I went out, drove around, matched up every single house in that neighborhood and just schemed them together. And then, I mean, it's a process, you know, it's a day process, but once it's done, it's done. You know, so you just got to make sure that you're working with whichever manufacturer will do something to help you with that, because it happens a lot where you lose your color book now because, you know, they're not online. So when they're online, it's there forever and it's a little easier. But when something like that happens, it's, you know, make sure you get the manufacturer because we do it for free.
Gotcha.
So it's a big deal.
Well, and in terms of process, you know, you're getting a building painted or multiple buildings painted. What's kind of the time frame that people need to be looking for in terms of what's reasonable to get a building painted? I mean, I know that's subjective to how big
sizes,
or but
I would say let's do this. Let's go from the start of you thinking about painting to the start of the actual painting. Typically runs 3 months. Okay. If everything goes according to plan.
Sure.
Colors sometimes take 3 months. So sometimes it's up to a year before they actually have the contractor picked or the manufacturer in place, the contractor picked, all their colors are ready to go. So it can take up to a year. The best I've seen is 3 months.
Wow. It's a lengthy process.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, it's a big decision because a big condo complex, you take a big
$500,000 job.
Yeah,
labor and material.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they really are focused on making sure that it's done the right way, especially ones that's been through that bad paint job where they've had warranty issues and some they're not getting help from the manufacturer, and you know they really want to make sure everything's right on. So a lot of the boards now are hiring engineers to help them through that, or project managers, which is a big deal.
Excellent. Well, if your community is talking about or looking into possibly repainting their your buildings or your community, or maybe it's just your amenities, that sort of thing, paint situation, just call us, 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. That number will get you plugged in to the Condo Coaches Network. You know, Fred is now a great part of that. He's going to be instrumental in helping us lead our efforts on the paint front.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. And then, of course, you can also reach us through our website, thecondocoaches.com, thecondocoaches.com/playbook. If you want the free downloads, 2 free booklets you can download now. Or if you email us, we'll also send you the hard copies if you want a copy for your entire board, for each board member. We would happily send one out every time somebody, every time there's a turnover in the board.
Absolutely.
Got about a minute left, Dean. You had a little closing message for us.
Yeah, I wanted to do a shout out. I don't know that we do this often enough. Over the last 6-8 months I've been in the business, I see news articles around the state of Florida about this board didn't do this board did this person got thrown out of their community because they, whatever the things are. And I wanted to do a shout out to the approximate 200,000 board members representing 50,000 associations and 9 million homeowners, and just say, there's a lot right with what they do. They volunteer their time. They do it for the right reasons. They want to make your communities better. They do it for the same reason we're here, to make it better.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. It's been another show with the Condo Coaches. See you next time.
You've been listening to the Condo Coaches, brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find us online at thecondocoaches.com and join us this same time next week as we help you navigate life in your managed community.